All right, this is going to be a video of the homework answers from section 6.2. I had an email from someone asking for help with these, and you guys have a worksheet today, so this way you'll know, hopefully, how to do these problems if I do the homework. So hopefully you've already uploaded the homework, and but now you can check your work. So on number 10, when you are asked to find the inverse, when you do an inverse, the domain and range changes. So what was the x coordinate now becomes the y, and the y now becomes the x. So for this one, you're just 7, 7, because when you reverse the order, it's still 7, 7. And then you would have 9, 4, and then you would have negative 7, 3. So remember, one of the ways to find an inverse is just to swap the x and y values. So number 12, you should have gotten 3, 4, negative 4, negative 4, negative 5, negative 3, and 2, 5. And then for number 14, you would have 0, 3, 4, 5, negative 8, 7, 12, 9, 16, 11. Okay, so that is those. For the next one, you're asked to find the inverse and then graph the function and its inverse. So for number 16, we've got g of x equals 5x. So one of the options, remember I said you could do, you could just kind of undo it. So what's the inverse of multiplying by 5? Dividing by 5. So g inverse of x would just be x divided by 5, which is the same as 1/5 x. So that was one option to do that. So when you go to graph this, we know that the y-intercept is 0, 0, and the slope is 5. So up 5 and over 1, or down 5 and over 1. And then you could graph that. So this is g of x, and it's a good idea to label that. And then for the inverse, also passing through 0, 0, it goes up 1 and to the right 5. Or you could go down 1 and to the left 5. And draw your line. And this is g inverse. Notice that it's symmetrical. Oops, forgot that. Notice that it's symmetrical across the line y equals x, just like we talked about. So on number 18, we have h of x equals x minus 4 over 3. I'm going to do this one a little differently. I'm going to change this to y equals x minus 4 over 3. And now I'm going to swap the x and y. So this was one of the other options. And then solve for y, get the y by itself. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. And then add 4. I'm going to switch it around though. So y equals 3x plus 4. Now that's my inverse, so I'm going to call it by its proper name. H inverse of x is 3x plus 4. Now when you graph this one, I would switch this to 1/3 x minus 4/3. So I'm just splitting it apart so I can see the slope, or the slope and the y-intercept. So negative 4/3 is negative 1 1/3, so it's about right here. And then I'm going to go up 1 and over 3 for my slope. So I get this line right here. And this is h of x. And then my inverse, the y-intercept is positive 4. I can go up 3 and over 1, or I can go down 3 and to the left 1. And I draw that in. This is h inverse of x. And you can see the symmetry. I didn't do a very good job of drawing my line there, but you can see the symmetry across the line y equals x. I actually might not do 20 and 22 and 24, since I did a couple of these just to make sure you have the idea on them. Then for this next section, so let me take a look at 28, how you determine if they are inverses. So remember, what you're going to do is you're going to do f of g of x and show that you get x, and then do g of f of x and show that you get x. So you're putting one function inside the other. So if I start by doing f of g of x, I'm going to take g of x and drop it in place where the x is. So this is f of g of x. Always identify. I noticed on your section 6-1 assignment, a lot of you lost points because you didn't identify what it was. So make sure that you always identify, is this f of g of x or g of f of x? You can use the notation f of g of x as well, but I like this one because g is inside of x. So we're going to have 4 times x minus 6 over 4 plus 6. Now, if you have trouble doing the math, this is going to be hard for you because I'm going to cancel the 4's. So now I have x minus 6 plus 6, and then notice those cancel, and I just get x. So that's good. Now I'm going to try g of f of x. So I'm going to put f of x into g. So I'm going to have 4x plus 6, and then I have a minus 6 over 4. Notice that these 6's cancel, so now I have 4x over 4, and those cancel, so I just get x. You want to get x. So yes, they are inverses. Now I know the directions just say right, yes, or no, but you always got to show your work. Okay, so now I'm going to do number 32. So if I first find f of g of x, it wouldn't really matter which one you do first. So this tells me put g inside of f. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to have an 8x minus 10 where the x is, and then I have a plus 10 over 8. So I notice that the 10's cancel. I get 8x over 8, and the 8's cancel. I get x. If I do g of f of x, then I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to put f of x inside of g. So I'm going to get 8 times x plus 10 over 8 minus 10. The 8's cancel, and then notice I have x plus 10 minus 10, so I get x. So this one is also yes. Okay, I'm going to try number 34. So if I do f of g of x, I'm taking this and dropping it here. So I get 1/3. In place of the x, I'm going to put the square root of 3x minus 3, and then this thing that is squared, and then I have a plus 1. So when I do this, when I square a square root, that cancels out the square root. So I'm going to have 1/3, and I'll have a 3x minus 3 plus 1. So now I'm going to distribute the 1/3, and I'll get x minus 1 plus 1, which is x. And if you go the other way, I'm just going to leave that for you guys because I do want to get to one that's a no, so that we will. But this one's going to be a yes. I guess I shouldn't have skipped 30. So then when we do f of g of x, so if I do f of g of x, I'm going to have I'm putting g. I like to do this where I'm showing, I put parentheses and I kind of show my little arrow where I'm dropping it. So I get -6 times 1/6x. So the 6's cancel, but notice the negative sign, I get -x. I didn't get x. I'm supposed to get x, not -x. The answer is no, and you don't have to check the other way. If you get no for one of them, it has to work both ways. So this is most definitely a no. And on number 40, I guess I don't need to write number 40, do I? It's the only one on the page. We have to find the inverse. So we know m of x is 3x minus 22, where x is the length of a foot in measured inches. We have to find the inverse of this. So when we do that, I want to find the inverse. Now, if you want, remember I talked about another way. You can actually think about what would you do to undo this? Well, you would add 22 and divide by 3. And then you can actually say m inverse is start with an x, add 22, and divide by 3. That's all you have to do. So that's and you can leave it like that. So that would be my M inverse. And so for the female, I have f of x is 3x minus 21. Well, I would add 21 and divide by 3. So start with an x. So I'm going to use my notation though. Start with an x, add 21, and divide by 3. So that's really easy when you can do it in your head. Now think about what this would tell you. Up here, my formulas were, if you knew the length of the foot, you can figure out the size shoe. The inverse goes the other way. If you knew the size shoe, you would plug it in for x, and it would tell you the length of the foot. So then for part B, if Lucy wears a 7.5, so we're going to plug that into this. So we would have 7.5 plus 21 divided by 3. So 28.5 divided by 3, whatever that is. You could figure that out. So anyway, is that a 9.5? 27, pretty sure. So that's how long her feet would be, and since it's measured in inches, we should mark that. Okay, so I hope that helps you. Make sure you know how to do the problems because you're going to do a worksheet that has similar problems again today. So hopefully you will be good on inverse functions.